How would you describe your relationship and your conversation with Governor DeSantis?
It's totally irrelevant, but I'll answer it, okay? In fact, very fine. He complimented me. He thanked me for the immediate response we had. He told me how much he appreciated it, said he was extremely happy with what was going on. This is not about whether anything having to do with our disagreements politically. This is about saving people's lives, homes, and businesses. That's what this is about. And so I've talked to him 4 or 5 times already. And it's not a matter of my disagreements with him on other items.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Welcome to day 618. The Department of Education scaled back eligibility for its student loan forgiveness plan after 6 Republican-led states sued to stop Biden from canceling up to $20,000 in debt for millions of U.S. borrowers. The lawsuit, filed in a federal court in Missouri by state attorneys general from Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Nebraska, and South Carolina, as well as legal representatives from Iowa, argue that student loan servicers would see a drop in revenue because borrowers are likely to consolidate their loans under the Federal Family Education Loan Program. The FFEL loans are loans that were originally made by private lenders but are guaranteed by the federal government. In response, the Biden administration said it would exclude FFEL from the loan forgiveness program. The move disqualifies roughly 2 million of the 44 million otherwise eligible borrowers. Meanwhile, the Senate approved a temporary spending package to avert a partial government shutdown. The stopgap funding bill extends government funding through December 16th. The House is expected to quickly pass the measure and send it to Biden for his signature before funding lapses on Friday night. The legislation includes $12.4 billion in assistance to Ukraine, but does not include any money for coronavirus or monkeypox vaccines, testing, or treatment. Moving on, mortgage rates surged to the highest level since 2007, with the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage climbing to 6.7%. It's the 6th week in a row of rising rates. Just a year ago, rates were at 3.01%. Applications to refinance a home loan, meanwhile, have declined to a 22-year low. In Florida, Biden warned that Hurricane Ian may have been responsible for substantial loss of life and approved a major disaster declaration for the state in what could be the deadliest storm in the state's history. Quote, "We've never seen a flood event like this," said Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, calling it a 1-in-500-year flood event that has brought historic damage to the state. The National Hurricane Center said Ian brought catastrophic flooding over Florida's east and central regions. More than 2.5 million customers across Florida were without power Thursday morning. Although Ian was downgraded to a tropical storm after making landfall on Florida's southwest coast as a Category 4 hurricane, the National Hurricane Center said Ian has now intensified into a hurricane once again after moving over the Atlantic Ocean. It's projected to make a new landfall in South Carolina on Friday. The center said Ian is, quote, "taking aim at the Carolinas and Georgia with life-threatening flooding, storm surge, and strong winds," end quote. And finally, Ginni Thomas, wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, testified before the January 6th committee for about 4.5 hours. Committee Chairman Benny Thompson said that Thomas answered some questions during her interview, including reiterating her belief that the 2020 presidential election was stolen. "It's a work in progress," Thompson said. Quote, "At this point, we're glad she came," end quote. Thomas repeatedly pressed White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to find ways to overturn the election. She also attended the rally that preceded the attack on the Capitol and emailed with John Eastman, the architect of the campaign to push Mike Pence to reject the 2020 results during the counting of Electoral College votes. Thomas has also repeatedly claimed that her political activities posed no conflict of interest with the work of her husband, who was the lone justice to dissent when the Supreme Court rejected Trump's efforts to block the release of his White House records to the January 6th committee. And in the polls, Gallup says 47% of Americans say they trust the Supreme Court and the judicial branch of the government, a 20 percentage point drop from about 2 years ago. 40% of Americans say they approve of the way the Supreme Court is handling its job, a record-tying low. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.